This is Sheriff Spotlight with the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office, highlighting the office and deputies dedicated to providing law enforcement services and maintaining the trust and support of Rockingham County citizens, all while keeping neighborhoods and communities safe.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Sheriff Sam Page of the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office, Rockingham County, North Carolina. Today we have our Sheriff Spotlight for September 2021, and I'd like to welcome all our listeners, our viewers, and everybody else who are joining us today. Today I have a special guest, Colonel Alan Farrer. Colonel Alan Farrer is my chief deputy, and we're going to talk a little bit about what Alan does, his job with the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office. Alan, you have a lot of duties, and I'm just going to kind of go through a few of these and some activities that we've seen over the past month since we were on our last podcast. So we'll go ahead and begin. Colonel Alan Farrer. Alan, you have worked with the law enforcement, particularly with the Sheriff's Office, but you've not worked just at the Sheriff's Office. You worked at other places. So let's kind of even go back further. When did you first? Because you told me something this morning. When did you first start getting interested in law enforcement work?
Well, in law enforcement, I actually got interested in it when I was in high school, back in 1990.
And you went to?
Rockingham County Senior High School at the time, and they started a new program there, which was the basic law enforcement training. It was an introduction to law enforcement. And so back in 1990, I was in the first class that we enrolled into that, and so I thought that was what I wanted to do with a career path. And so once I got involved in it, and I followed through and got out of there, I went to Rockingham Community College, got my associate's degree in law enforcement. From that point, the same year, I enrolled in basic law enforcement training, and I have not looked back since then.
Now, when you went through basic law enforcement training, did you go through it at the college, or did you go to another location?
I actually went through here in Wentworth, Rockingham Community College. I was in the second class at RCC. I think you were in the first class, Sheriff, if I'm not mistaken.
I went through again, that's right.
Correct.
94.
But I did. So in 1995, once I finished my 2-year degree, I also finished my BLET certification and started work at the Sheriff's Office as a reserve officer in May of 1995 and was hired full-time in November of 1995 at the Sheriff's Office.
Okay, so in 1995 you worked at the Sheriff's Office, and how many years did you work, because you transitioned to another career field?
I did. I worked at the Sheriff's Office for about 8 years. And at that point, I made a transition and actually went to the city of Greensboro and worked there for a short stint.
What were you doing with the city of Greensboro?
Initially, I was with the police department, and after a couple of years, I actually switched over to the Greensboro Fire Department. Now,
the thing is, you didn't just become a firefighter.
Correct.
When would you become a firefighter? Because that's kind of an interesting story, too.
It is. My public safety actually goes back over 30 years. Law enforcement about 26, but fire department I started in 1990. As a junior firefighter at the Bethany Fire Department. And so I've been there ever since then, and actually that went into a full-time career with the Greensboro Fire Department for about 8 years as well.
Okay, and so what pulled you back? What pulled you back to law enforcement? What do you think? I'm putting you on the spot. What do you think pulled you back to law enforcement? Because when you left the fire department, you came back to the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office.
I did. I came back where I started in my professional career. And I think people are meant to do certain things. And law enforcement was what I was meant to do. I even had a chief at the Greensboro Fire Department tell me, I see how you do your job, how you interact and what you do. And he told me, he says, you're a law enforcement officer. That's what you are. And at that particular point, the current chief deputy at the time, he contacted me and had spoken with you and received an offer to come back home where I started.
And so you came back in what year was it?
I came back here in 2010 is when I came back. I came back in a patrol capacity then. And
were we in the new facility when you came back?
We came back, I was hired in September and we had just moved in this facility.
Okay.
Sure did.
Okay. And during your career, Coach, you've had a dual career. There are a lot of law enforcement officers that are also volunteer firefighters in our county and stuff like this.
It is.
And we appreciate our volunteers.
Right.
Got a lot of great volunteers. And just for the fire departments, if you hear this on this broadcast in Rockingham County, if you're interested in a firefighting opportunity, contact your local fire department in your community, because they are looking for volunteers.
They are. Always.
I'll just throw that in there.
Always looking for volunteers in fire service.
But you did that program. but you also went back to school and finished up and got your bachelor's degree. How did that come about?
I did. While I was still working for the city of Greensboro, the opportunity came through, and I actually attended John Wesley College in High Point at the time, and I finished my bachelor's degree, and it is actually in management and ethics is what it's in. So I finished that up in 2008, and it's given me a lot of good skills to bring back to the administration here at the Sheriff's Office, and as well as the volunteer fire department.
Before you got out of full-time firefighting, even back here in the county with a local fire department, you were with the Bethany Fire Department. You attained the rank of?
Actually, at the Bethany Fire Department, I have held the ranks of captain, assistant chief, deputy chief, and I actually served as the interim fire chief until a new fire chief was appointed.
So we consider Alan a full-service deputy because he's trained in firefighting services and that profession, and he's also trained in law enforcement. But we're glad to have you on board. I know you bring a lot to the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office. I've worked with Alan again for several years, and we're glad to have you back. What are some of the duties and responsibilities you see? Give a little breakdown. What are some of the duties and responsibilities you see as the chief deputy of the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office? Because a lot of times people see the sheriff and they see the deputies out in the field. Well, what does the chief deputy do? What's your responsibilities?
My biggest responsibility, obviously, is I work alongside you as the sheriff, and I assist you in handling the day-to-day operations of the sheriff's office. A lot of times people may just see our patrol cars out there, but the sheriff's office is a multifaceted operation that includes patrol. We have operations division, which includes our patrol officers. It has our canine division.
How many officers within the agency are you responsible for, being jail and patrol, detectives, court side? Roughly how many employees do you have total?
We are responsible for about 155 full-time employees, and we've probably got another part-time pool of another 20 to 25 officers that work for the sheriff's office. So, well, you say part-time, we also have reserve officers. Some are we do.
Two categories.
Inactive and active reserves.
And the active reserves, like it says,
they are obligated to give us 12 hours a month, mandated. They come out and they supplement the sheriff's office where it may be needed. It could be patrol, civil, could be football games.
I was just saying details.
They do.
Football games. You know, we're blessed. We've got a 5,000-acre lake called Blues Lake. Wonderful place in Rockingham County to the west, near Ellisboro Road, in the Huntsville community, and we get a lot of people come out there during the summertime. So a lot of times our volunteers may be up there. They may be at river events. I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit at the end, but we've got a lot of festivals coming up.
We do. It is the season.
So our reserves, how do they help us?
They do. They come in and they supplement. You know, they come in, and I've always said they do it for free because they enjoy this line of work. But they come in and we can contact them for extra assistance, and they come in and give of their hours and get 12 hours. A lot of them get more than 12 hours because they enjoy doing the job so much.
Key word, just like with fire and our fire volunteers, with the fire department and the sheriff's office volunteers, you can't make it without your volunteers. You got to have them. Got to have them.
They are the backbone. If you look at the fire service, the majority of your firefighters across the nation are volunteer. They're not paid full-time firefighters. And the same thing with the sheriff's office. We couldn't do it without our volunteers that come in and supplement our regular full-time workforce. They're very viable to us.
Are there any divisions? Well, how many divisions do we have? Can you tell me the different divisions we have in the sheriff's office?
We do. We've got our patrol/field operations division. We've also got our investigative division, and we've got our administrative division. And of those, that also encompasses the court system, the detention side, civil process, warrant service. So we've got many different divisions that people don't realize that we have probably.
Is there one division more challenging than another?
If you
put them on the spot again here. Put them on the spot.
If you ask whatever division commander that oversees it, they will say theirs is the toughest to supervise.
Whether it be patrol, detectives, detention, courts.
But the big picture is we're all a team. It takes the administrative division to work in coordination with operations, investigations, and detention to make everything run smoothly and efficiently for the citizens of Rockingham County. And that's what we strive for.
Okay. And how many divisional commanders do you supervise?
We have 4. I supervise 4 captains. We have Captain Grace Smith, who is over operations and patrol. We have Captain Jennifer Brown, who is over our administrative civil division. We have Captain Shane Bullens, who is over the detention facility. And we also have Captain Mark Kennan, who is over our investigations.
So you stay pretty busy.
We do.
Is it a 5-day-a-week job, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5?
It's a 24-hour-a-day job, 365 days a year.
Do you ever get any calls after 5 from anybody?
Occasionally.
Okay. Anybody you know?
Yeah, occasionally. The sheriff and I, we are in very close communications every day.
How about,
every day.
Do you ever talk with the public information officer, Kevin Southern,
We
who is
do.
also in the background today?
We have everyday briefings with the PIO, Lieutenant Kevin Southern. We do.
Tell people what a PIO does, because a lot of people don't understand what a public information officer does. Now, first I want to say this. Kevin's primary responsibility is lieutenant in the civil division. But what other responsibility does he have, and what does a PIO do, and how does that, well, just tell them what he does.
Lieutenant Southern, the public information officers, that is a very important position. It is somewhat our liaison between the sheriff's office and the public, because he's responsible for relaying information from our office, getting it out there and pushing it out so that the people know what the sheriff's office does. It may be events that we take care of. It could be crimes in progress. It's a whole host of issues that go out there. And now with technology, social media, smartphones, it's almost instantaneous. So what our PIO pushes out is real time, and it can be
he has to be knowledgeable of different technologies. I'm going to give him some kudos today. He has to know all the different types of technologies. Works with Roy Sawyer's with Rockingham Update, and works with other news services, whether it be on social media or your standard or your normal, or we say normal, well, no, everyday news, like you say, the TV news.
Yes.
And then other people. How about interacting with other public information officers around the county?
He does. Kevin, he has a good working relationship with the county's public information officer, as well as the other police departments. So they work in close connection, because just what happens in the county, it could be happening in the city as well. And so we've got that communication to ensure that the citizens get the most up-to-date information, real time, that looks out for their safety and well-being. And
so a lot of people may not know this, but you have public information officer or person designated to push out information to the public, the different law enforcement agencies, school system.
Correct. Again, we work with the school system. They're public information officers. Occasionally, we may have incidents at the schools that a lot of information needs to be pushed out to students, parents, the general public, and other media sources as well.
In just recent situation where we had a situation on the river, we had a river rescue and recovery situation for like 6 weeks.
Correct.
And Kevin was communicating. Another is Rodney Cates, who is our emergency services director, who's over emergency management, the 911 center. Kevin has to also communicate back and forth with emergency management also, and emergency services.
He does, because especially in an incident like that, you've got multidisciplines there, from fire, rescue, EMS, law enforcement. And a lot of times we'll have a command center, we'll have numerous PIOs, they come together, they work, and they push the information out. Well,
I got to give kudos to Kevin. Kevin, when we had the operation on the Dan River there, and the search and recovery operation, is that the sheriff's officers were working hand in hand with emergency services director and working with them on coordination of the media response, our media support.
A lot of times they would get together, they would do joint media releases.
That's right.
So they can make sure that all the information was pushed out, that it was correct, up-to-date information.
So what we're seeing here is, in your work and working within the sheriff's office, a lot of it is coordination and cooperation.
It is, correct. And communications.
And communications.
We have to have a good line of communication, and that's the way it is here at the Sheriff's Office. All of our divisional commanders that we talked about, they keep me up to date so that I can keep you up to date with everything that's going on.
Let me go to school resource officers. What is your interaction with the school resource officers, and how important is that program here in Rockingham County?
School resource officer, very important program. When I was back in school, we talked about that earlier in the 1990s, we didn't have school resource officers. That is something that has evolved over the years into law enforcement. And, our number one priority in these schools is our kids, their safety, the teachers' safety, so that they can teach. And so, we have our school resource officers in there. They're overseen by Captain Grace Smith. And we have 5 school resource officers who are supervised by a sergeant. They're responsible for our elementary schools, our middle school, and our 2 high schools out in the county.
And then of the charter schools, how do you handle that?
Our charter schools, we have administrative staff and other patrol officers that make routine checks there, because
they don't have a designated.
Correct. They do not have a designated school resource officer right now.
And my goal is to see a resource officer in every school.
Yes, every school. That would be very beneficial, including elementary schools.
And it is a cost factor. We understand that. But to help all of our schools to continue to be safe.
They do.
And support them. You know, we've pushed for resource officers in all our schools.
Right. The kids have got to feel safe to learn. The teachers have got to feel safe to teach.
So they can teach.
And with everything that's going on across the state and the nation, you know, kids are concerned. They don't understand a lot of times.
Well, there are some reporting systems in our school. If a person, if a student wants on their phone, smartphone, they want to send an anonymous tip, now they have the ability. Do you know the name of that program?
It is the Say Something
Say
app.
Something. And if you want to sign up to it, it's free.
It is.
All you got to do is what? Go to the school system website.
There's several platforms. You can do it from the school system. If you go to Rockingham County Schools, it's there. You can actually download the app on your phone, or you can make anonymous tips from the web, so online.
So, but it's free,
It is.
and like I said, all you have to do is go to the app. You can put it on your phone,
Yes.
and if your kids were to see something that was a danger, or threat, or risk of something to the schools, it's a way they can anonymously report, and that information comes back to the staff, principals, and to the school resource officers to help us get ahead of a situation so we can prevent a critical situation from occurring in our schools. Also now, our school resource officers, their first responsibility in school is
Law enforcement and protection of our kids.
and if there's a threat detective, say for example, and Lord help it never happen, but an active shooter, what is their primary responsibility to do to deal with an active shooter?
The SRO's primary responsibility, if there's any type of incident on school campus, active shooter incident, they are going to go to the last known location of where that threat was, and they are going to stop the threat.
Their job is to stop the threat, period.
It is.
Okay. Well, we've had some situations that occurred in Mount Tabor, down in Parkland, down in Yanceyville, in some of the schools. And one of the big things was communication with parents to let them know what's going on when an event occurs. Because the last thing we want parents to do is come directly to the school, because it still may be a critical situation going on.
Yes.
We want them to be at a safe place, but we also want their kids to be safe, and also the staff. How does the school system, because you're a parent, how does the school system communicate with elementary school kids? What's that program called?
There's Connected, and for elementary, there's also Class Dojo.
Class Dojo. So that's a way the principals can communicate directly to the teachers.
They do.
And also, what's the one for outside the elementary school? It's called
The Connected app.
Connected. So in the event there's something occurring, the school principal, staff, central office, Stephanie Ellis, who's with safety, their public information officer, Mr. Powell, will coordinate with our public information or the public information officer from the township where there's an issue, if there's an issue occurring. They'll coordinate and push that information out, so you're getting good information. Now, there's one other free app that you can get also through the county. The county pays for it, but it's free to the public, and you can set it all the way out to 25-mile radius.
Code Red.
It's called what?
Code Red.
And how do you get that, Code Red?
Code Red, like the sheriff was saying, it's a free app. You can go to the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office website. There's a link there, or you can go to the Rockingham County's website, and you can download the app there. You can put it on your smartphone. It gives you real-time information, which is so important today, and it'll give you push notifications. You can set it for weather alerts, emergencies, public safety, traffic, anything.
Well, I think it's safe to say that our schools are a top priority here in Rockingham County, keeping our kids safe from getting on the buses to getting to the schools, to maintaining the school resource officers, checking our schools. That's very important. Coordinating with our school superintendent, our safety officer, from Stephanie Ellis, with the school system, the public information. But I think the big thing we're coming out here talking today is communications is probably one of the most important things we can do in our work, communicating to each other, from and to each other, and also to our parents out there when and if a situation does occur.
Because normally, when issues arise, it's because somebody doesn't know something, or something's been miscommunicated. Same situation at the schools. Parents just want to know. If something takes place at a school, they just want to find out, how do I know my kid's okay? Because all these positives that we have with the apps and everything on our phones, they can also be negative sometimes, because all the information is coming out from students or other people.
And it may not be correct information, and parents are getting that, and then they're getting upset and stuff like this. Well, rest assured, we want to make sure that we push out good, solid information to parents real time, so they know what's going on, with the school and their children and their children's safety. Well, a lot of things have changed in school safety since Columbine, 1999. We've changed a lot of ways we approach and handle things. But communications between all these entities, I think, is one of the most important things we do to make sure we maintain that safety. We missed one thing. Kevin Southern is our coordinator with the Crime Stoppers of Rockingham County.
Yes.
349-9683 is the number. 349-9683. Put that number down. If you know of a crime that's been committed or somebody's involved in criminal activity in the county, you can call that number. And what's the good thing about calling that number?
It is anonymous.
It is anonymous.
Correct.
And you could receive up to $1,000 for information leading to the arrest, conviction of persons that are involved in criminal activity. So we appreciate it.
We do.
All right, I'm going to move on just a little bit. We recently had our 9/11 ceremony last week. We had our special guest speaker, Colonel David Myers. Tell me some of your impressions from last week, because you're a former firefighter, law enforcement, still, and what's some of your impressions from last week? What did you think about it?
It is. You know, this was unfortunately the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And so, you know, the one thing that we vowed to do was never forget. And I think that's what resounded on our 9/11 ceremony last Friday. You know, Colonel Myers was there, you were speaking, and that's the key. A lot of people, they were small children, or they don't even know what happened.
Some kids don't even know what happened on that day,
They
other
don't.
than what they're told or read about.
And we've got to remember what took place. You know, the patriotism that came through after 9/11 was just so amazing to see how everybody come together as a country and united.
Our public information officer posted something the other day. I read a lot online, and he said, "I wish we could be like we were on September 12th, 2001.
Exactly.
How we came together." And Kevin, that stayed with me. It means a lot. We're the United States of America.
Right.
All of us.
We are.
We're Americans, and we need to look out for one another, care about one another, communicate with one another, and try to get along.
Right.
But again, we're one of the greatest nations in the world.
We are.
But if we don't stay united, there'll be people out there that try to do bad things.
There's always people trying to drive division between us. And yet we've got to overcome that. And
Yeah.
that's what we've got to do that. We've got to be unified.
We should never be divided. One of our, Susan's son was here from the Navy. He came in and he was in
Yes,
uniform.
he was.
And I told him, I said, I want you to do one thing. You keep defending and protecting America
Right.
from your position with the military, and we'll do it local. You do it foreign, we'll do it local. Together, we can complement each other.
Right. And there's always going to be people that stand up for what's right.
Absolutely.
And that's
absolutely.
what always
Well,
will
we've
be.
got I was able to go to a ceremony on the day actually September 11th in Greensboro on Saturday
Yes.
at Lawndale Baptist Church. It was a great ceremony, great program put together, and really enjoy the music and all. They did a lot of recognition of our different military branches, and just a great moment to be there. Also, I was at an event on Saturday also that evening at Stoneville Pentecostal Holiness Church, and they did a recognition for firefighters, law enforcement, public safety. Had a great spaghetti dinner. Roy,
They
should've
fed
done
you.
that.
Yeah, they always
If I
feed
could
you.
have found you, I'd have brought you with me. But it was really good. I really enjoyed myself, and I just want to give a shout out to Stoneville Pentecostal Holiness Church. Thank you very much for your invitation.
They
We
did.
really appreciate that. Really appreciate that.
And I think the city of Reidsville, they actually done a ceremony on September 11th too. They had a nice ceremony
They
there.
sure did.
They did.
They had an artist. I don't know where he's from, but he did a sculpture in steel that came from the World Trade Center. And if you go by Reidsville on Scale Street,
Yes.
right at the front of the fire department on the corner, they've got the monument, and it's in memory of those who lost those lives, or lost those many first responders and innocent civilians that lost their lives that day on September 11th. To remember them and to never forget what happened, so it never happen again.
Exactly. And part of the World Trade Center is actually some of the twisted metal is part of that tribute.
Absolutely.
It is.
Well, we've got a lot of events. I'm going to go through these real quick. Upcoming fall festivals. Eden is having their fall festival, Riverfest, and it'll be this weekend.
It is.
And actually I think they start on Friday night, like 6 to 10, and then they'll be there all day Saturday. The next weekend will be Stoneville Street Festival. Always a great time. Bobby Stanley, who's a former county commissioner,
Yes,
was talking about it
he
the
is.
other night. So remember, Stoneville Street Festival. Coming up the next weekend will be on Saturday will be the Mayodan Low Safety Day, and I believe the following weekend will be the Hay Fest. Is that when they do all the hay bales
It
and
is.
stuff?
They
with all-
decorate 'em.
and they do the competition.
They do,
Okay,
yes.
in the Madison Mayodan area, but particularly Mayodan will be the Mayodan the Hay Fest.
The Hay
and that's
Fest.
on October 9th. And then the Reidsville Low Safety Day will be on October 9th from 9 to 1. And then the Madison Street Festival will be on the 10th, October 16th. I'm sorry, a week later, October 16th, the Madison Street Festival. There'll be music, there'll be food, there'll be fun. Please come out and enjoy Rockingham County and the different townships.
Yes.
It's really a wonderful time. I look forward to the fall because it cools down a little bit, but also I look forward to getting to see people that I haven't seen,
Right.
regular and stuff like this. So it's really good. Come out to the festivals. Follow the internet. It'll be on social media. The events.
Yes.
You can go to the different townships' websites and you can probably pull it up. And also, I'm sure the Chamber of Commerce across the county also have. Now, gun permits in Rockingham County. What is our goal in Rockingham County this year? How many gun permits, carry conceal permits, are we hoping to be issued?
10,000.
10,000. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have 9,571 carry conceal permits issued. That's more than 10% of the population. 9,571. Our population in Rockingham County is 92,000. So we're over 10% of the population have their carry conceal permit, and that means that a person with a permit has the ability to protect himself and his family if he chooses to do so. And we appreciate it. If you do keep a firearm in your home, make sure you keep it secure from the children.
Yes.
Also, make sure you educate your children and your family about gun safety and how to, when you interact around firearms. I go back to the school shooting situation. Sheriff Kimbrough the other day made a statement that really stuck with me, and it was a very sad, tragic situation because we lost a student at Mount Tabor, and our prayers go out to the families. But he said, when asked, "What do you think the problem is?" he said, "I don't think it's a gun problem. I think it's a people problem." Ladies and gentlemen, talk to your kids, teach your kids. We talk about gun safety, safety handling, and also teach one another about caring out for their fellow man.
Exactly.
Caring about. All right. Last thing is there was a piece of legislation that went out. Two things. A piece of legislation went out. The governor vetoed it. It was dealing with doing away with gun permitting in North Carolina. I don't have time to go into it real heavy, but it was a good bill. It basically would have done away with laws that came about in the early 1900s that originally were designed to prohibit certain persons from being able to acquire firearms. Maybe I can have a little discussion on that next month when we come on that. But again, like I said, there was a bill that was sent to the governor's office, and he vetoed it and dealt with handgun permitting and doing away with that and turning that over to the feds and letting the federal firearms license dealers handle the vetting process for purchases of handguns in person. Okay, one thing is we've had our Fans for the Elderly program real quick. We were really successful this year. You know how many fans we almost collected?
500.
Nearly 500 fans we collected. Donations from our citizens, our firefighters, and different organizations from across the county.
And country. Had one from Texas.
And one from Texas.
It did. Donations from Texas.
Our Fans for the Elderly program designed to help out others, our senior citizens primarily, that may not have a way to cool them off and keep them cool. We do it from May to August. We appreciate everybody. Thank you for supporting Fans for the Elderly.
Definitely.
Well, we've just got a few seconds left here. I'm Sheriff Sam Page. I appreciate everybody coming out and listening to us on Sheriff Spotlight for September. We're looking forward to October. I don't know who our guest will be, but we'll be working on getting a good guest. We appreciate you, Alan, as our Chief Deputy, what you do here in Rockingham County, not only for the Sheriff's Office, but for the citizens of Rockingham County. We appreciate you. God bless you. Thank you for everything. And thank everybody for joining us on Sheriff Spotlight.